Yo, what's up guys? So we're here to check out the newer Fire Fist cards in action, some gameplay of the new Fire Fist. Anyways, the first duel up over here is up against the Marincess archetype, which is actually a pretty strong archetype. They basically can make a boss monster that has, like, you can't really destroy it. And in addition to that, they even have Sea Lord's Amulet to further protect the Marincess archetype, because a lot of them have that ability, well, specifically the extract monsters can't be destroyed by battle, is one of their effects. And then with Sea Lord's Amulet, you can protect it even further. I think it's kind of more of a win harder card, but anyways, he's going to go ahead and make the Wonder Heart, and you can go ahead and special summon a monster as a quick effect that's equipped to it, and that way you can basically get extra damage and then it re-equips itself, so basically you have some extra damage on board. Anyways, we're going to see the Elephant bring out the Buffalo over there. Well, it's going to be fast, because this deck can spam out monsters really fast, as you guys will see. And then we also had Sinto activated, which can negate a spell or trap. But Cardinal over here is going to say, I don't care about your boss monster, we're going to go ahead and just bounce him back. I think he was really relying on Sea Lord's Amulet to kind of help him out, but technically Fire Fist can pop cards, but they also have options to do other things. So Ripperoni Marincess on that one. Now this one, next duel, is kind of a troll duel, but it is an important thing to keep in mind. Some of the effects that activate elsewhere, when you activate Tiger King, you'll see what happens with Needle Fiber, what exactly happens. So he goes ahead and goes for Tensu, goes for Wolf Bark. This is basically like a 1-card rank 4, which is for Tiger King. And then he has this effect over here, this is important, to actually negate the effects of all face-up effect monsters on the field, except for Beast Warrior type monsters. That does technically include your own. I'm not sure if he thought that this was only going to affect his opponent here, so he stopped Needle Fiber. But I think he wanted to use that effect, but it doesn't really matter, because you'll see what happens. So we're making the new Fire Fist Peacock, and he's going to go ahead and Snatch. So he's activating that effect, but that effect is negated. So this card is just showing you how cool that card can be. But in addition to that, obviously Peacock is a really good card. When it battles, you can go ahead and Snatch steal a monster. However, like I mentioned before, you can lock yourself on. He's just going to go ahead and just be like, okay, I'm bouncing back, everything, good luck. And that's going to be GG over there. Now let's go and watch a duel where it's more of a, I would say more of a grind game here. This is versus the Altergeist. And they even have Imperial Order, which, well, it's a pretty good card against a deck that really needs to have, of course, their spells, because Tenki is a very important card. It basically searches out your deck, and it gives them a small boost. A small boost sometimes can make a big difference in the long run of things, just to get over certain cards. But anyways, he's going to go ahead and go for a Link Kariba Pass. He's got Scythe, Imperial Order down. So he's going to go and Tenki, and that's going to go ahead and get stopped by Imperial Order. I mean, Tenki at multiple is still really good. I mean, we have Rhoda at 1. Just being able to search out pretty much most of the cards in the deck. It is a 4-low, so you can't search out one of the newer cards, which is actually pretty important. But you guys can see you can swarm the board quite fast with this deck over here. I'm trying to mouse over this guy so I can scroll down with the effect, but everything's happening too fast. I can do it. There we go. Okay, so Panda is one of the better new cards. So if you activate your Fire Formation, you can just special summon it. So it gives you those options for faster Link plays. And even with the Link Karibo here, you guys can see you can OTK quite easy in this deck. You can go into Cardinal quite often. Now there is a fusion and there is a ritual that we have not seen yet. Let's go ahead and check out the gateway of the deck, is kind of what I want to call it. But it's they have a field spell that's very similar to Gateway. It has, like, you can put counters on it and it gets some insane effects. And I'll go over some of the cards that I was thinking about to actually bust out this card. Now this is more of a pure version that you guys will see, but maybe later down the line we'll get you guys some gameplay of the Ritual and Fusion. But for the most part, it hurts consistency. They're kind of awkward to play, but we'll get into that in a moment, because I do want to talk about it. But basically, the effects of them, you need both of them, because one of them negates effects but doesn't destroy. One of them destroys but doesn't negate the effects. You kind of just need, I would say, both effects in one to really make the deck be a lot more viable, because it is a quick effect. But again, it's just unfortunately not enough for the game. And as far as, like, my personal opinion on how good the Fire Fists are going to be, as of right now with their newer support, I don't see it be like an tier 0 deck. It's still like a decent deck. Like, this is the card that I was talking about, Fire Fortress atop Liang Peak. This is a card, unfortunately, it only gets 1 counter at a time, but the 10 effect, which you guys can see over here, it says to special summon 1 Beast Warrior monster from your deck or extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. Another important thing I want to mention, when multiple things are special summoned at the same time, you only get to place 1 counter on this card, unfortunately. Whether it's like with Rekindling, which is an excellent card. But yeah, every time you summon a Fire Fist monster, when it's normal or special, you get to place 1 counter, and then you can, once per turn. See, that's another downside with this like gateways, like activate gateway 50 times per turn. But if you have 2, you can make it so your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. That's a really easy effect to activate, and I think that effect is quite good. But for 6, you get to add a Beast Warrior monster from your deck hand, which can include Panda, which again, I mentioned before, is really an important card. But the 10 effect is really like the icing on the cake. Now, we've got 6 counters on it right now, so we can go ahead and search up any Beast Warrior monster from our deck to your hand. And you guys can see, once again, a Moral Sword. So you can make other things. Like I mentioned before, there is one of the newer cards where it makes it so you can only go for the Fire Fist stuff. But pretty much you can still go for other things in the archetype. And because you can spam the board so hard, with Moral Sword and, of course, Cardinal, you're going to be able to OTK quite easy. And then Sinto over here is there to kind of back up your board so you don't get, like, Darkhold. But unfortunately, Super Poly is still technically a thing, which I guess in Mirror Match you can go ahead and tech it in if you really want to, because it's just quite fast. Let me see, Called by the Grave can go ahead and stop the Ash Blossom. I feel like Sinto, if it also stopped monster effects, the card would have so much more potential. But we finally get 10 over here, and we're just using a special summon the Panda. Like I said, you can go for everything in the extra deck, and look at that. Leo Dancer can technically be made. It does ignore summoning conditions, but unfortunately a lot of the good cards, they need to get their effects when they are synchro summoned. And then on top of that, all the exceeds, well, you need to detach for their really good effects is really what it comes down to. But anyways, now that you guys have seen the deck in action, let me go ahead and give you guys a deck profile. But I did want to mention the other Fire Fists that we didn't see really quick, because I will be covering them later down the line. Another card I want to mention, because I was thinking of like the good targets with Fire Fortress. Lunalight Leo Dancer can be pretty cool. I mean, can't be special otherwise, but anyways, it can make a second attack during each battle phase. We didn't see it in the duel, but it does say ignores its summoning conditions. But anyways, I mean, it has a pretty good effect. It's 3,500. I was thinking Thor would be pretty cool. The Lord of Asir. That would be a really interesting tech. Maybe I'll make a variant where all we try to do is make Thor in it. Although Thor's other effect where it would come back, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be happening unless you want to do Nordic Fire Fist. But the most important thing is once per turn, you get negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. That's a pretty good effect. But at the point of you summoning 10 monsters, it's just kind of an extra spot. I mean, you do have room for it in the extra deck, I would say, because you really don't need all 15 here. But anyways, let's go ahead and go over the deck profile in case any of you guys wanted to run this build. And shoutouts to my boy over here for the replays. This was his build. Shout out to StardustReaper. If you guys want to check him out, I'll leave him down below. But I'm going to go give you guys his build, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on it. And if you change anything, let me know, because I haven't messed around with Fire Fist in quite some time. Back in the day when it was like Tanky Bear Pop, that was like the play. But now, obviously, the deck has evolved into kind of a link spam deck. Anyways, 2 copies of Fire Fist Panda. You could opt to play 3. I think this card's really good. And then we have Coyote over here, so if you control a fire formation and no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Kind of more of a recovery, but it's also like another name here. And then we have Dragon over here, where you can, if you activate a fire formation, you can set another fire formation trap card directly. Now, previously, people didn't really like Dragon too much because the targets were kind of weak, but now with, of course, Sinto, you have that option to go instantly into a negate, which is just so much better. And then you can send 2 face-up fire formations and the target of Fire Fist and special summon it, so that's great for that. Then we have Buffalo, and then one of the newer cards, Elephant, over here. Which, when it's normal or special, you get to send a fire formation, and then special summon Fire Fist from your hand. So, you will go through cards quite fast in this deck, and then also you can target a fire formation spell trap in your graveyard, and you can shuffle in the deck. So you can reset Sinto, for the most part, and then add a level 5 or higher Fire Fist, which is usually going to be, of course, Panda, which is one of the best cards. And then of course we have Rooster for your Spirit Rooster plays, great stuff. And then we have Ram, only one copy of Ram, but if it's normal you can discard a card, then target a fire formation, and then set a fire formation with a different name. But if it's special summon by the effect of a Fire Fist monster, you can set a fire formation spell trap. A lot of it comes down to recycling the Sinto again, for the most part, but that's a great little card. Then of course Spirit, this is an older card. And then we got Leopard over here, which lets you, again, just set another one. And then we have triple copies of Rekindling. So this one lets you special summon as many fire monsters with 200 defense. So that will be your Leopard, it will be your Spirit, as well as Ram. Ram's another target, but the rest of them have too much. It has to be with 200 defense. It's not 200 or under, unfortunately, but... anyways, don't worry about banishing because you're just going to link them off. And then we got Reborn, 3 copies of Call, 3 copies of Tensu, 1 copy of Gyokkou. This actually used to be a pretty popular card as well, but I think a lot of people just kind of dropped out on running back row for the most part in Yu-Gi-Oh! But with all the Psalms, yeah, it could be definitely not too bad. But then we got the 3 copies of Tenki, that's normal. And then Ling Peak, 2 copies of Impermanence. We got Tensen and 2 Solemn Judgment, and then 1 Sinto because you can recycle it. For the extra deck, the most important cards, well, are pretty much going to be these over here. I think you could definitely make great use of that. And then obviously we need Peacock, and then this card is pretty important too. Light Emperor, it does have its uses, but I would say this is the core important cards. Most of these cards, well, this one I guess you can have access to that, or Thor, but you could definitely replace these ones. So we got Leo Dancer, good sort. Leo Dancer, 2 copies of Horse Prince, Vulcan Divine, and then we got 2 copies of the Tiger King. You could opt to play 2 Cardinal if you want to as well. I think this card is really important though, but usually when you make it, you're going for game. Then we have the Boral Sword, and then we had 2 copies of Eagle and 1 copy of the newer Peacock card. And like I said before, I did want to briefly mention these because they weren't really shown off in this build, but I do want to cover them in a future build. So StardustReaper said that the consistency of having these, just it wasn't optimal, but I do want to mention Spawn over here, which is a fusion, and like I said, because of, you know, the card, I'm gonna call it the gateway, the Liang Peak, you had the options to ignore summoning conditions, but this card, when it's special summon, you get to inflict 200 burn damage to your opponent for each fire formation and spore trap you control, and I thought that that was not too bad of an option. Like, if you happen to have it, you could maybe burn your opponent for game, and then as a quick effect, you can send a face-up fire formation spell trap you control, and target 1 card your opponent controls, and you get to actually destroy it. It does not negate the effect of the card. This is the ritual for the archetype, which is really interesting. It just came out of nowhere, but there is a Fire Fist or Fire Formation Dome, but you discard 1 monster, and then you get to set 1 fire formation spell trap directly, and then when your opponent activates a monster effect, you get to send 1 face-up fire for fist or fire formation, and then you get to negate the effect. But it doesn't destroy, that's the problem. I think both of these just had half of the effects that were required. If both of them had that effect, we'd be looking at a deck where potentially you could just go, okay, I'm going to basically have a negate 2, maybe even a 3, and then we're looking at more of a competitive deck. But anyways, you guys can let me know your thoughts on this build down below. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, turn on that bell, and if you guys want to send me in the other builds, I would love to see what other people come out with for other variants of course, a Swan or a Land build. But again, I think that this is probably going to be the most optimal build, but I'd probably play 3-pen. That would be my choice. But anyways, thanks for watching. Shouts once again to my boy StardustReaper for the plays. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on a new Fire Fist down below. And peace.